Envy is ignorance. Imitation is suicide. Just let those words sink in for a second. Right now, at this very moment, if you're looking at someone else's life, kind of coveting their success or trying to perfectly copy their path, you are actively destroying your own potential. You're literally committing a kind of spiritual death.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Why does society push so incredibly hard for you to be just like everyone else? Why are we taught from day one to follow the rules, fit in, and desperately seek approval from the crowd? Well, the truth is, the crowd doesn't actually want you to grow. They just want you to be predictable. And honestly, this tension between who society wants you to be and who you were actually born to be, that is the greatest battle of your life.
So, welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you are deeply interested in self-improvement, upgrading your mindset, and unlocking real success, you are in the absolute right place. What we're doing here is delivering a really powerful Self-Reliance summary, unpacking a text that has totally shaped the minds of leaders and innovators for nearly 2 centuries. In this book summary, Ralph Waldo Emerson lays out this raw, totally unfiltered blueprint for personal growth. And trust me, this isn't just about paying your own bills. It's a radical manifesto on how to live a completely authentic, uncompromising life.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1. Imitation is suicide.
So why exactly does Emerson call imitation a form of suicide? Well, it's because, as he so brilliantly puts it, the wide universe is full of good, but no kernel of nourishing corn can come to you unless you work on a specific, unique plot of ground you've been given to till. Like, what does that actually mean for you? It means you have a specific genius. You've got your own specific talents, your own insecurities, your own experiences. If you completely ignore your own ground just to go stare at your neighbors, nothing grows. Your main focus in life has to be working on yourself. You've got to measure yourself only against who you were yesterday and focus on creating rather than imitating.
Moving on to Section 2, the core of self-reliance. Now, to unlock true success, we really have to define what we're actually talking about here. If you look it up in a modern Merriam-Webster dictionary, self-reliance is defined pretty simply as reliance on one's own efforts and abilities. But Emerson, he takes this so much deeper. In his 1841 essay, he views self-reliance not just as some economic or physical independence, but as a deep spiritual independence. It's the capacity to discover your true self and dodge the crushing weight of societal conformity. It's having absolute trust in your own capacity to navigate life.
And to really grasp these key ideas, you kind of have to understand where they came from in the first place. Emerson was actually the center of a movement called Transcendentalism. A core belief of this movement was that human institutions, we're talking things like formal religion, politics, massive societal structures, they fundamentally corrupt the purity of the individual. They viewed society as this giant machine that just strips away your originality. So to be truly pure, to have a truly powerful mindset, you absolutely must protect your individual thought from the corruption of the crowd.
Which brings us to Section 3, trusting your inner voice. The absolute crucial point here is learning how to listen to yourself over the overwhelming noise of the world. Emerson writes this amazing line, "Trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string." He's arguing that your own spontaneous impressions, that sudden flash of intuition you get right before you overthink it, that is way more valuable than the combined wisdom of all the sages and bards in history. Have you ever had a brilliant idea only to dismiss it just because it was yours and then watch someone else succeed using that exact same idea? Yeah, that is exactly what happens when you don't trust your inner voice.
But look, trusting yourself is incredibly hard, mainly because society is completely rigged against it. Emerson compares society to a joint stock company. Just think about that for a second. In a joint stock company, the members agree to surrender the liberty and culture of the individual for the better securing of everyone's bread. Basically, society demands you trade your freedom for comfort and security. It doesn't love creators or realities. It loves names, customs, and predictable behavior. Sure, it's always easier to just live by the world's opinion, but doing so literally costs you your soul.
All right, let's jump to Section 4, the courage of nonconformity.
If you want to achieve genuine personal growth, you have to be willing to stand alone. Emerson draws this really sharp contrast between the civilized man and the self-reliant man. The civilized man relies on external things. He builds this grand coach to travel in, but over time, he literally loses the strength in his own feet. He buys a fancy watch, but totally forgets how to tell time just by looking at the sun in the sky. He uses crutches and loses his natural power. The self-reliant man, on the other hand, cultivates true internal strength. He relies on his natural instincts, his aboriginal power.
He doesn't need a library to tell him what to think. He's got his own mind.
But what if you change your mind? What if what you believe today completely contradicts what you said yesterday? Well, Emerson has a famous answer for that. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. We are so terrified of looking like hypocrites that we end up dragging around the corpse of our past decisions. Emerson urges you to speak what you think today in hard words, and tomorrow, speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words, even if it contradicts everything you said today. Are you worried about being misunderstood? I mean, Pythagoras was misunderstood. Socrates, Jesus, Galileo, Newton, literally every great spirit was misunderstood. To be great is to be misunderstood.
Let's transition to Section 5, Practical Lessons for Success.
So how do we actually take these profound philosophical concepts and use them as life lessons today? Modern self-reliance isn't necessarily about going off to live completely alone in the woods. It shows up in highly practical, everyday ways. It's entrepreneurship, relying on your own skills to build a business rather than waiting for some corporation to hand you a paycheck. It's securing financial independence so nobody can dictate your choices. It's self-directed learning, teaching yourself new skills instead of waiting for a piece of paper to validate you. From tackling DIY projects around the house to autonomous decision-making where you truly trust your gut over external advice, these are the modern battlegrounds where you reclaim your independence.
And let me tell you, when you finally stop leaning on others, the psychological rewards are massive. You experience this deep empowerment and unshakable resilience because you just know, whatever happens, you can handle it. You achieve true freedom. And not just physical freedom, but freedom from the anxiety of needing external validation. Just think about how much stress comes from waiting for someone else's approval or someone else's support. When you become truly self-reliant, that anxiety just vanishes. You become creatively resourceful, and your capacity for massive goal achievement skyrockets, purely because you are the sole driver of your life.
And finally, Section 6, Unleash Your Inner Strength.
It's time to distill everything we've talked about into the main lessons for your own personal journey. Here are the 5 key ideas you need to permanently install into your mindset. First, envy is ignorance. You have to stop imitating and start creating on your own unique plot of ground. Second, trust your intuition, that iron string inside you over whatever society is demanding of you. Third, it's easy to be independent when you're all alone, but the true master maintains the independence of solitude right in the middle of a noisy crowd. Fourth, discard foolish consistency. Don't be a slave to who you were yesterday. And fifth, don't waste your time explaining yourself to critics. Your genuine, authentic actions will always explain themselves.
I want to leave you with this final, incredibly piercing thought from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Do your work, and I shall know you. Stop bowing, stop apologizing, stop asking for permission to be exactly who you are. The world doesn't need another carbon copy of someone else. The world needs the pure, uncorrupted force of your original potential. So ask yourself, what is the work that only you can do? And more importantly, are you finally brave enough to trust yourself and start doing it today?